I'm Sarah Louise and welcome to my channel. I do apologize in advance, I'm super sleepy today. But yeah, I wanted to record a video on some things that I've been really feeling recently. So the first thing, the main thing that I really want to talk about in this video is, and I think I've talked about it before in the past, it's just that I find on this journey you kind of go through deeper and deeper layers and of the same truth. And I realized that the most important thing and, you know, the key to happiness and successful manifesting, which, you know, we only want to successfully manifest to be happy and to feel joy and bliss, is non-reaction to the 3D. Like, I think, you know, we get sometimes a bit stuck on the techniques, and there are techniques that work, but I really feel that this is the place where they're all kind of aiming us to get to, is just to be completely non-reactional, because when you don't have that reaction in you and you don't have that charge, then you don't need to kind of bring those things into your experience anymore. And it's kind of, life just becomes a flow, and you don't even need to really consciously manifest, because you just kind of have, you know, it becomes natural then, because we're always manifesting. So at that point, you're just in the free flow of life, and you're just allowing all the really good things. You're feeling bliss, you're feeling that like love energy all the time, and you're just really allowing things to flow in, just as you have a casual thought. You know, you just think about somebody, their message, and when you're in flow state, I find that happens all the time. It's like there just aren't really any problems, and you don't really need anything anyways, because when you're in that flow state and complete inner bliss and joy, you just don't even have any need for anything outside of yourself. But then at that point, that's when all the stuff flows in anyways, and, you know, just life becomes super enjoyable. But I realized that that's just our natural state of being. There's nothing really that we have to try to be in that state. We just basically need to not have resistance, and we need to not have emotional triggers coming up, and we need to not be feeling lack, and we just basically need to be full. Like, when we just feel in union within ourselves, then everything outside of us just reflects that state, and everything just flows perfectly, and we just feel joy and we feel bliss, and we don't really need anything, but it flows in anyways. And, you know, all these, like, there's so many different ways to get into that state, because I realized that I kind of dipped into quite a few, and they all kind of work to a point. So, you know, I'm only speaking on my own journey. Obviously, if you have something and you feel like it really works for you and you want to keep doing it, then, you know. But on my journey, I dipped in and I tried a lot of things, and, you know, in their own way, if they're stuck to, they can all kind of work. But it's really that they're all just getting you to a state of being unreactional to your 3D external environment, unless it's something that you want to react with and you want to engage with, and learning just not to engage with the rest. It's basically getting rid of your triggers. And obviously some people do this through like mirror work and looking at wounding. And so every time you experience a trigger, you kind of acknowledge the trigger and you acknowledge that you've created it. All of this basically is around owning your creation. The biggest step of true change, because there's a massive spiritual ego world that can go on for lifetimes, years, whatever. Like, the spiritual ego is really convincing, because if you have a belief in something, then it will manifest and it will show itself. So if you believe in dark energies and you believe in this and you believe in this, well, you'll get reflections of them, and you'll see them, and you'll know that they're real, and so they'll continue. And the knowing that you're creating everything, that's like that step higher, because yeah, all these other things exist, and if you believe in them, you create evidence for them. You'll create the evidence that astrology is true. You'll create evidence that tarot cards give you accurate readings, because they can. but you're still kind of seeing yourself as powerless and that life is happening at you. And a lot of the spiritual community and a lot of the spiritual sort of practices are based on the world happening at you, and on some level you being a victim, and you not and they have various levels of you being able to take control and change your environment through various techniques, and some of them being more empowered than others. But the general consensus is that you are a victim. And, you know, then you go into a true awakening and you realize you're not a victim, and you begin to claim everything that you experience, and you begin to integrate that. And you say, you know, I'm obviously choosing to experience this. How do I choose to experience something different? So it's that true ownership that's the number one link. And all the sort of practices that, you know, I found that really, really worked for me over a longer period of time, that's what they all had in common, is they took full ownership and they had no victim consciousness about them. And they all were about owning the inner reality only, and literally not reacting to the 3D world other than using it as a marker to show you what you're currently creating from your belief, energy, thought patterns, whatever you want to go on. So it doesn't really, to me, matter what technique you choose. I guess the one that works the best for you, the one that's quickest, but you still have to have an overall understanding that it's not the technique doing the work. It's you're creating your reality, and you're just using these techniques to help you feel more empowered and to create a different experience for yourself. So, you know, there's the affirming route, which I do really like. The thing I like about affirming is and sort of mental diet and constant affirming is you can really do it a lot. Like, you can keep on track of yourself a lot. Like with mirror work, you're kind of waiting for a trigger to come up. And the other problem with mirror work is it's quite easy to start walking down a path of telling your story a lot and talking about your wounds a lot. Now, I think mirror work is actually really good. I think it's great for a little bit at the beginning, so you can really start to take ownership and you see where your stuff comes from. But I definitely did it for too long, because then, yeah, there gets to a point where if you continue, then you're just basically telling your story. And I think it can still work, because ultimately if you stick at it and you stick at it and you stick at it and you stick at it, and you keep continually owning your reflection and integrating it, then, you know, it does work. But I think the other ways potentially are a lot quicker, because you're not kind of circling around a wound over and over again. So there's the visualizing. For me, visualizing is super powerful. I'm a super visual person, but I find it doesn't really work when I try and force a visualization. Like, it only works for me, and it works very quickly, when I've already gotten myself into an energy of surrender and pure desire. Like, if I have any negative feelings, or I have some kind of anger still, or I have some kind of, like, it's only happened when I've had like a pure desire and I've visualized, not because I'm trying to force, but I've just been enjoying the scene playing out. When I've done that, I've really brought in a lot of stuff instantly. But yeah, I don't find it a good, that's why I find affirming to be a good starting gap, because I don't feel visualizing from a sort of lack mentality is very helpful for me. But if it works for you and you've got that technique down, then that's awesome. I started doing affirming a few years ago, like really solid affirming, because I remember reading this blog once, and I can't even remember who it was by, and it basically said that you need to chant that your specific person loves you, like, over and over again, literally thousands and thousands of times, so a few days. And then once you've done that, you will no longer feel any lack, and then you will actually know if you even have feelings and want to manifest them or not. And you know, at that point you might actually think, oh, well, I only wanted them to, you know, I thought I loved them, but actually I realized that now I feel full up and I know they love me, that actually I just wanted them to want me, or, you know, some of the other ego programs. Or you'll realize that you do still want them and you'll bring them in that way because you've got rid of your like neediness and your lack mentality. So I started doing that, and I built my own little practices around that, which I still to this day do, because they just so, to me, this is one of the best ways of manifesting. And, you know, maybe this is just me and some people are going to think I'm crazy, but hey. So I I make songs up, and I have a friend that I do this with as well, and we take popular songs. You know, you need to pick a song that's got a really repetitive chorus or something very repetitive in it, and something where you don't need to change all the words dramatically to make it what you want. Something where you only have to change a few words. And I make songs around the things that I want, and I change a few words in them so they fit and they're really like personal and they fit my story. And then over a bit of time I learn the lyrics. And when I drive in my car particularly, I just belt them out, and nothing puts me in a good mood and makes me feel like I'm creating my reality quicker than doing that, because there's something very playful about it, very childlike, very creative. You're affirming over and over your affirmations, but you're doing it in a really fun, because I think sometimes with affirmations you can kind of be like, you know, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, my specific person is totally in love with me, you know, and there's not really any real passion. And I find when you do it to music, you can just really go for it. And it's really important the songs you pick. I don't know if I'm explaining this well enough for you to go away and do it, but it really works. Like, it almost immediately takes away the lack feeling of things and puts you into a good state. And really, that is a blessing in itself, whatever comes from that. So that's one of the ways. And I think the other affirming is good because it's good because eventually you start to have a running thought pattern in your mind. And the reason I think this is all good is because if you're, you know, when you're experiencing things you don't want to experience, it's because somewhere inside of you there's a charge and a belief system. And as soon as something starts bothering you and you don't care anymore, is when it's not going to happen anymore. So if you've got a charge to being rejected and it upsets and it hurts you when someone rejects you, it's going to keep on happening. So what you need to do is get rid of that charge. And affirming's good because you basically, anything that's basically not claiming your reality and saying, oh, I created that because of my belief system or because of the fact I got triggered. So I'm just going to go within and I'm going to keep clearing that. And that's where you choose what you do. You either do your mirror work or you just affirm the opposite. And you're like, nope, no, people, you know, always commit to me. They always want to marry me. Like, you know, everyone I meet wants to marry me. I'm super rich. I earn thousands of pounds every month. Like, money flows to me. And the more you kind of do this, you're kind of neutralizing that wound. And the singing really works quickly as well because it really gets rid of that lack feeling, I find. So yeah, you're doing these things and then you're coming to a place where you're like an empty vessel. That's what I like to call it. And you know when you're there because it doesn't matter whether you have your things or not. You just feel, I'm sure we're like a lot of us on this path have had those feelings where we've just had absolute pure bliss and just completely in the now, in the moment, and life just flows. And just, you don't even have to ask for stuff, you don't even have to manifest stuff, you just, I mean, consciously, like, you just, all these amazing things are just flowing to you all the time, and you don't even care because you're feeling so blissed out inside of yourself. It's that kind of feeling when you really go high in meditation. And you're kind of like a magnet. You're a magnet for amazing things, maybe things that you asked for years ago or things that you just casually thought. And you don't even need to kind of keep pushing them because they're just flowing in and you're getting so much good stuff. You don't even want to ask for anything else. And that's that feeling of like really being in a union with yourself. But then when you drop out, that's generally because, you know, something got trapped inside of you. I see as like this vessel, and when we've got kind of things that trigger us, it's kind of like a spider's web, and things are getting caught on it and trapped. Like, so, you know, we could be out in society and there's all this stimuli going on, all this stuff, and it's only going to affect you if it like sticks to something inside of you. And if you don't have any charge for it to stick, it's just going to flow through, where you won't even notice it. It won't even be in your reality. It won't be in your experience, because this stimuli exists every day. And the only things that come into your reality, and the only things that are highlighted and you perceive, are the things that you have some kind of reaction to, or something that relates to your bliss union energy. So, you know, if you're getting things where there's like that, you know, then you need to clear a few of those cobwebs away. And yeah, that's where you just basically choose what works for you to just neutralize your energy, so these things don't trigger you anymore. And I've really observed that that is all you have to do. Affirming, you're not really creating with your affirmations, or that's not how I see it anyway. You're basically neutralizing the negative beliefs and the charge that you have, so that you don't need to experience the opposite anymore, and you can have all the things that you just instantly think of, and there's no wait time, and it's just, you know, instant. And you know at that point what you truly desire as well, because you're in a union state, and you'll know, like, sometimes we basically want things because of an ego program, or because we feel the lack, or we want acknowledgement, or we want that person to value us, or we want that thing because it's going to make us feel like we're somebody. And when you're in that bliss energy and you're in that inner union energy, you then can see through those patterns, and you know the things that you genuinely want, the things that are in alignment with you and in alignment with your heart. So yeah, for me, that's where I've really gotten to recently, is just maintaining that bliss state for as long as possible, and just allowing myself to be in it. I'm finding affirmations are working really well, yeah, and the singing, just to neutralize the charges, really. And that's where you have to be really strong as well. When you do get something come up, just the quicker you can, that's when I think mental diet's really good. The quicker you can just catch it, affirm the opposite, and you know, get back into balance, get back to where you're not claiming that 3D, and you're not seeing it as real, and you're like, no, you know, I know it's an inner journey, and I know this is only showing up because it's triggering me, and I'm going to own it, and I'm going to integrate it. I'm going to accept that I'm choosing this experience because I want to experience it on some level, maybe not consciously, but I'm choosing this experience, else it wouldn't be in my reality, and I can choose something different. And that's going to put you into that. And you know, you can also get there with surrender. That's why people say surrender works. All these things work. Being works, meditating works, surrendering works, affirming works, visualizing works. Anything where you're taking ownership of your 3D experience, refusing to react to it, and you're taking it inwards, works. It's about you to work out which one works for you the best in the long term, because some of them, things like meditation, maybe only works when you're meditating. So if it's not then working when you're out in the world, then it's not, you know, it's not doing its full job. For me, mental diet is really good. It's just easy to do a lot. It's easy to catch yourself, and they just put me in that real bliss energy. Sorry. So yeah, I realized, because I went to this job, actually. I'll give you like a real life example. And I have super different opinions to like a lot of people, or I did in the past, on, you know, lots of the things going on in current affairs. And I was getting some real kickback, to the point where I got blocked by those people on social media. And I was like, I don't really care. But inside a part of me did. Inside a part of me was feeling, you know, bad for having my beliefs in some deep way. And I really did get to the point where I just didn't care anymore. Like, I just thought, do you know what, I am who I am, and this is what I believe. And I don't really care if people attack me or whatever. Like, I just don't care anymore. It's kind of like the charge just went out of the situation. And I went on this job, and everybody on it was cool. The people I think might have had a reaction, we didn't even engage on any heavier topics. And I actually literally met people on that job that were into everyone, you know, that were into you are the God of your reality, you create everything. They had all the same in alignment beliefs to me. And I really believe that's because I dropped a lot of that resistance of just caring so much, you know, and worrying about people being triggered and telling that story and stuff. I just got to the point where I just like, let it go, which is why I think a lot of the time we get a lot of stuff we want when we just go, oh, you know, I just surrender, because you just instantly drop that resistance. But then you know, that's when I think the mental diet is good, because sometimes just dropping it in that moment, it can quite quickly come back in if it's not been like fully resolved and you've just had that moment of like, it's why people say you have to keep surrendering over and over, because sometimes just that instant act of surrender isn't obviously enough. And you know, for me, mental diet has been amazing in this way. It just fills up all the lack, and then it lets you know what's in your heart. I do believe some connections are deeper than others. I do believe some things are more aligned to our spirit and our path than others. But until you get rid of the lack and the being pulled to things because you're seeking something externally and you're seeking validation or whatever externally, you're not even going to know what's real love, or you're not going to know what your real passion is. You know, you're going to think you do, but it's going to be from like a place of seeking. And when you're in a union, you're just allowing those things to flow in that are really in alignment to your deepest desires and what you really desire from your heart. So yeah, that is where I got to. I also had another thing on the experience. Like some of the people that I'd worked with have been quite difficult, and I think that particular day I just didn't care anymore. I thought, you know, who cares? You know, it's a day, and everybody was really lovely. It was like working with a whole different group of people. So another real example of that you sort of like drop that trigger, you drop that caring, you drop that sort of like giving that 3D reality any kind of attention whatsoever, and you know, you get the things that are like really in alignment with you come in. So I hope that made sense. I think it's probably been a really long video. I haven't made one for a while. I mean, it's hard because I know I'm not very good with being a sort of good Instagrammer or YouTuber or whatever, because I don't really, the authentic me just gets bursts of knowledge or, you know, inner wisdom, and then I just want to share it, and I'm not very good at kind of like spacing it out or making up things to say when I don't really have something that I feel really inspired to share. And I just decided that that's who I authentically am, and I'm just going to stick to being that. And you know, that I'm not going to have a limiting belief that means that, you know, I won't be on my right path. So, cause I think sometimes there's this thing where you feel that if you do it in a certain way, that everybody else is doing it and that works, that that's what you should be doing. But I know that for me to be authentic to myself, that I only just want to come on here and just share things when, yeah, I feel like I have something that is worth saying, at least in my opinion. So I hope everyone is doing well, and yeah, I'll speak to you soon.